The path to a Senate majority is rarely a straight line. In 2026, that path depends on the outcome of a handful of key races, none more volatile than the one currently unfolding inside one specific state. The math for Democrats is difficult. To take control, the party needs a net gain of 4 seats, but they face a hostile electoral map. In traditional pickup targets like Ohio, Iowa, Alaska, and Texas, Republican voting margins consistently reach double digits. This makes Maine a mathematical bottleneck. It is the only blue-leaning state in the country currently represented by a Republican senator. That seat belongs to Senator Susan Collins. She is a 5-term incumbent who has built a reputation for resilience, surviving decades of national political shifts. Because flipping the Senate without winning Maine is a statistical outlier, party leadership sought a challenger who could match Collins' name recognition while appealing to the state's independent-minded voters. The candidate they found was Graham Platner, a tattooed Marine combat veteran and oyster farmer who positioned himself as a working-class outsider. His populist message resonated. By early 2026, Platner had raised $4.5 million through small-dollar donations, building a movement that many believed could actually unseat Collins. His momentum was so strong that it pushed the state's Democratic governor, Janet Mills, out of the primary entirely, clearing the way for Platner to take the nomination. But this surge set what strategists call an insurgent trap. The desire for a fiery, non-traditional candidate led many to overlook the rigorous vetting process usually required for a high-stakes national race. Warning signs existed early on. Reporters uncovered a history of disturbing social media posts, a tattoo featuring symbols associated with extremist groups, and reports of volatile internal campaign behavior. Despite these flags, the enthusiasm of the base carried Platner to a primary victory in June. For a moment, his path to the Senate seemed secured by the sheer force of his populist appeal. The collapse began on July 6th. Within 48 hours, 2 major news organizations published detailed on-the-record reports from former partners. These reports detailed non-consensual sexual encounters and stealthing. While the campaign had survived previous scandals, these specific on-the-record accounts of misconduct proved impossible for institutional backers to ignore. The fallout was immediate. National Senate PACs severed financial ties, and long-term allies, including Senator Bernie Sanders, publicly called for his withdrawal. Platner responded with an 11-minute video. He denied the allegations and claimed his exit was forced by a party establishment determined to crush his movement. It took nearly a year to build Platner's campaign and only 2 days to dismantle it, leaving the Democratic Party without a nominee just weeks before the ballot printing deadline. The campaign's end triggered a logistical crisis as the state party began a race against a series of immovable legal deadlines. Under Maine law, the July 13th withdrawal deadline leaves a 14-day window to select a replacement by July 27th. With no time for a primary, local delegates at a state convention will decide who appears on the November ballot. Whoever is chosen must build a statewide campaign and raise millions of dollars to compete with Susan Collins, starting from zero with less than 4 months until the election. In their search for an outsider, Democrats bypassed the standard vetting that identifies fatal flaws. Now, the resulting vacuum in Maine has provided Republicans a structural advantage that could determine control of the United States Senate.